All right, folks, welcome back to the Cardiac Who's podcast. This is the week that we've all been waiting for. And, we couldn't just do it with just us three, so we had to bring in some additional help. Mills, we have a special guest tonight. Do you want to do the honors of introducing our special guest?
Yeah, we got Duece from the 434 defense on X. We connected on X and talked during games, and you know, I felt like it was a great time. He has great contact. Please go check his channel out on YouTube, X. That's all I really check out, Duece. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
flip it over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on, guys. And Mills, it's been great tearing our hair out with each other throughout this season. Thankfully, with a couple
I'm
W's at
wearing the
the end
hat.
of those.
Right.
But yeah, I run a channel called the 434 Defense on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, pretty much generating content on all platforms. I am the son of a former UVA football coach. Coached there during the Al Groh years in the early 2000s. Was there for a lot of really good UVA football. It made me just a fan of the Who's and the team for life. It's the longest stay throughout my dad's coaching career in any one place, so it just kind of stuck with me. And then I went on and played college football at the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina, some FCS football. And then, I've gotten kind of the post football retirement, like I need to stay away from football for a hot minute out of me. And now getting into the kind of nitty gritty and sharing some of the stuff that I observe about UVA football with everyone. So thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know you played at Citadel. So as a JMU alum, we played the Citadel a couple of times when I was there from 08 to 12. So just a little bit, how was your, this world or this age of college football versus when you probably were recruited? How have you noticed the difference?
It's changed a lot from the time when I got recruited was pre NIL, pre transfer portal. We had guys that were trying to transfer closer to home to be close to a relative, and the NCAA was telling them no. And then in the time that I was in college from 2018 to 2022, we got the portal, we got NIL, all of that stuff got rolled out all into one. The portal affected us a little bit more at the FCS level than NIL did, but I was there for the meetings when they're like, we're rolling this out, and then within a week you saw South Carolina or Clemson players or Georgia players on every billboard on I-20 in South Carolina and Georgia. So it was a crazy time during that recruitment period. So it was crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a different world. Yeah, Ben, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just take it nice and easy. This one we didn't send to you, do so I apologize, but
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
real curious. What's it like being a UVA fan outside of the state, especially in Florida, where it's a football state, right? So what's it
Yeah.
like? I mean, is it hard? You take a lot of flack?
Not necessarily taking a lot of flack. I think it's more of a curiosity. Sometimes I'm the first UVA football fan that a lot of people in Florida meet, and the conversations tend to go pretty well unless I bring up Florida State this year or 2005 or 1995. And then if I'm talking with Canes fans, conversation goes great until I bring up the fact that we shut down the Orange Bowl.
That's
Yeah, it's
right.
it's. I mean, as you can imagine here, and you probably know. I mean, you're seeing, two colors usually when you go out. We're seeing a lot of purple lately for some reason. I don't know why. I guess it's those Dukes, but
Shout out the
Go
Duke Dogs,
Dukes.
I guess.
but I gotta say
Go
it's been a
Dukes.
lot. It's been a lot easier wearing the colors out there this year. And it kind of leads me like, what's the biggest difference you see on offense this year, or more specifically, how the O line compared to last year? I mean, I guess Coach Huff hasn't been there terribly long, but I mean, What's the difference this year?
I think the cohesion between the first and second groups has been a real difference maker. On offensive line, we think of it as five guys, but it's very rarely the same five guys week in and week out. You have changes on the depth chart or injuries or matchups. And I think that Coach Heffernan and Coach Elliott, and to his credit, Des Kitchings did a great job. I'm positive with all the injuries and with the flux in the unit, did a lot of mixing and matching during camp and during the early parts of the year, putting different groups together, because when you have 10 or 12 guys, your travel squad, when all of those guys can get plugged and played with each other, then it makes everything easier. And then I also think that there's just an added intensity to how we're playing at the point of attack on offense. I think we're aware of the fact that we have a great running back behind us and that we have a great quarterback who is going to be kind of that Jim McMahon type quarterback who wants to mix it up with the guys up front. And I think that goes a lot into how this unit has played because of the guys that they're blocking for, just as much as who they're blocking with.
Great. Yeah, I mean that kind of leads me into my other question. I think you kind of answered it already. Just I get the sense that, the quarterback we have and having a seasoned veteran just is really his decision making, and the time that he makes the decision is making a big impact. Is that something that you feel like we could replicate maybe next year, as he goes on? Because I mean, those two guys are going to leave a big hole, for us to fill next year.
No doubt, running back and quarterback are two of the most important positions on the football field. And, we can never recreate one-to-one. There are a lot of comparisons right now between Bryce Perkins and Chandler Morris, but they've won games in different ways. They're different quarterbacks, but the effect has been similar. And so I think we can replicate the effect, maybe not the exact process. And at the end of the day, that's fine because they don't count different types of wins in the win column. It's just win or loss, or yards gained or yards lost. So, I thought we saw some flashes from Daniel Kalen, and at the same time, you can never rest on your laurels when it comes to personnel in college football now. And we found Jamari Taylor from NC Central. Who knows where the next guy might be from, whether he's on our depth chart or playing Power 5 somewhere, Group of 5, or FCS D2, D3. Who knows?
Right. I feel like I see they definitely are going to leave a lot to be desired next year. What those holes are going to fill, and I definitely agree with you with the fact that DK's definitely giving us glimpses of what he can do. I'm also pretty excited, honestly, about people like Noah Vaughn coming back next year.
Yes,
and it'd be real interesting to see how the O line continues to grow. Who they'll get at center. It sounds like I may have heard this somewhere, or at least I'd like to believe it, that Monroe Mills is even interested in coming back next year after he recovers. Same thing. I've really enjoyed seeing the development of Ben York this year as well.
Yes.
And, I think they're going to have some really good pieces to continue with the mindset and the mentality and that Coach Kitchens and Coach Heff really want to go in that direction. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of hope to be had, and you never know in this transfer portal. It's so wild. Like, you never know what you're going to end up with. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
and it's funny when you look at the depth chart this week for Virginia, you see a lot of GR and a lot of SR, but that's because with one exception, one really big exception, I will admit, we're mostly healthy at this point. But by the time we're playing Louisville or Cal, we had a lot of sophomores. We had a lot of juniors getting burned, like Ben York and guys like that who have had a chance to make impactful efforts this year. And, hopefully that gives them a taste of, hey, when this guy graduates or gets drafted or goes in the portal, I'm next up. And I think that's ultimately one of the biggest factors besides dollars and cents when it comes to retention.
Well, Duece, I appreciate you telling us that, but I think what some of the listeners are going to talk about is this upcoming Saturday. Can't call it the game because it's not Michigan, Ohio State, but the state championship. Man, Tech, Tech's coming off just hiring James Franklin and signing their 3-4 stars. They just got announced today, and what does this game mean for UVA fans?
I think it's an important step for this program. I mean, I think the media explosion specifically around UVA football, a whole ecosystem has developed almost like organically since that Florida State game, really. There's been a big push. And so, for all the fans that have started to come out and started to watch channels like Cardiac Who's or 4-3-4 defense or ball hawk. Like, this would be a great payoff for our program and kind of a great segue into next year and shoot even what we end up doing, because I still think us winning a major bowl would no playoff would still be an incredible outcome for this year. So I think this would be an incredible payoff, and shoot, for Virginia Tech, those guys are going to play hard. They're on the roster.
Right.
They want to play for James Franklin. This game is a great way to prove that they're up for renewal, or the same with the coaching staff. A lot of those guys are Penn State guys or James Franklin coaching tree guys, so they're going to be coaching hard. And so, if we have a hard fought game that ends up in a close victory, I don't think that changes things. I almost think it makes it even better for this Virginia program.
And that kind of going to ask you and kind of jump into Sean and bring Sean in, because Sean and I we kind of go back and forth, a little bickering. Sean will die on this horse that says this is a rivalry. I 100% agree this is a rivalry, but in the last 20 years, it hasn't been a competitive rivalry, as we can all agree.
Yeah.
Where I say, UVA kind of looks at, we always say, hey, how many national championships have we won? Oh, what have we done in our spring sports, country club sports? And Tech always goes, well, beat us in football and then we'll talk, So that's kind of the bicker. And I hate to put this out there, but if, like Sean, what would this game, with how much we've done success this year, if we lose this game, what happens to UVA fans? Like, are we going back to where we were? Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, obviously, if we lose this game, it's definitely a shot to the heart, because you're like, we've had a great year, 9 wins, and then we still couldn't get it done against Tech when they're in a period where they fire their coach in the year, and then everybody's expecting us to win. I think we're a 14.5 point favorite in this game at home, and if we can't get it done, yeah, it's going to be devastating. Now, when you look back at the season as a whole, you'll say, yeah, it was a success, but you always look at that one game. And I've always said it doesn't matter what the record is for a rivalry game. They're going to show up to play. Elliot talked about it today. There's still talent on that roster. They just weren't able to win games the way they wanted to earlier this year, and then they went through some change. I still think they changed way too early. I think they should have kept Brent a little bit longer. I mean, you had a really tough schedule to start the season, and then you lose 3, and obviously the ODU game is embarrassing.
Shout out Ricky Ronnie. Come on.
Hey, I mean, I love seeing Tech lose, but to see them fire their coach after that. But back to the main point, yes, this is still a rivalry. We still talk about it all the time. The feeling when, coming into this week, I'm just counting down the days, getting ready to get to Charlottesville on Saturday, trying to get there early in the morning, going to be there all day, got
Awesome.
Party plans all day. Like, this is the game, and this is my 4th one at home, and I'm really, it's just everything I've got. Nothing else matters this week. And if you look at X and everything, they're all sitting there twiddling their thumbs, talking trash back and forth, posting pictures of them spray painting our field. Mm-hmm. It's a rivalry. Yeah, it's lopsided when it comes to the win-loss column, but it's a true rivalry. You see people walking around, like I picked up some from Marketplace the other day, and I had this hat on. The guy was like, "Oh yeah, go Tech," and I was like, "Yeah, we'll see you on Saturday." So best of luck.
If it wasn't a rivalry, they wouldn't be posting so much.
Exactly. They wouldn't be commenting on how many empty seats we have every single week, and then talking about our attendance and how many unsold tickets we have. We're in their heads. We live rent-free with them. Now, granted, they own us in football, yeah, but that trophy case is still empty. I mean, somewhere they had to put it in, like the trash. They had to do something to hide that pathetic post that they made years ago. So we'll see if James Franklin can change that, but he's been shown he can't win the big ones. But
shout out the guy who runs that account on X that counts the days.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
My God.
The other one that I followed on X, but he, I guess, disappeared, was the Commonwealth Cup guy on X. He, disappeared. He always would tell us how long Texas had it or when UVA held it last. It was kind of...
Yeah.
Could have been a bot. Elon
I
cracked.
would say that we just saw that a lot of foreign actors out there antagonizing things, so maybe they're antagonizing these UVA people.
I think, 3 of the 4 are going to be at this game. I think, Duece, you're coming up from Florida, right?
I'm doing my part driving up from the Gulf Coast, so I'm getting in on Friday night, and then going to be there pretty much all day in Charlottesville. I'm ready for the Bodos again. I'm ready for hopefully a fun trip to Three Notched after the game, even though it's a 7 p.m. kick. Who knows?
It's gonna be
Right.
cold. I know you're been down in Florida for a while. You better bring. I bought a heated jacket today. I can't do the cold anymore.
Oh
But
my
I
god.
bought a heated jacket. I'm ready. I'm ready for
You
the
bought a
race.
heated
I
jacket,
bought a heated
Sean?
jacket today. Yeah, 'cause it's going to be 30 degrees at 9 o'clock. I get cold. All right.
I had an interesting thought, and Deuce, I'd love to hear your perspective too. When I was listening to Elliot's press conference today, I kind of thought to myself, we talk about the importance of the game. Obviously, yes, it's a rivalry game, so that's that. But if this happened, if everything continues to go our way, we win this game and we move on to the ACC Championship, and we win through that. I mean, it's got to, money does matter when it comes to the NIL and getting people in, but at the same time, when you can offer a program that says, hey, we can go to that level, that we can be that championship team. It seems like this is like a real big turning point for the culture of UVA football.
Completely changes the outlook of the program, in my opinion, at least. We had a similar-ish point in 2019, and we weren't able to follow through on it. But, with the amount of amazing anonymous donors that have popped up when we've won 5 games under this administration, if you're holding back resources, I don't think, I think the last possible holdout is, well, if we can beat Tech, then I know this regime is legit. And for, recruits, this now means that Virginia is one of those ascendant programs. Dare I mention us in Indiana and Vanderbilt's category, but we're trending in that direction right now. So if we can take care of business and win against Virginia Tech, I think no matter what happens in Charlotte, this is now a different athletics outlook for the University of Virginia.
I agree. I think if you look at it as well, it's an ascending program, and it shows you that we're not like, hey, we need 5 or 6 guys to make it happen. We're maybe 1 or 2 special guys away from making it happen, and I think that's the biggest thing. We're going to have to rely on the portal again. We got, I think it's over 50 again who are eligible to leave, graduate, or maybe come back for a grad year. So it's going to be where we're going to be a portal team again until we can rebuild that base. But it shows you, hey, they got it done last year through the portal. Hey, let me swing over to Virginia. I mean, you think of a guy like Mitchell Melton. He believes so much that he went from a national championship team to coming to Virginia, and he's a guy who is there in line to win another natty. And he came to Virginia, and he's made a huge impact. I mean, I love watching him play every week, and he's just one of my favorites, and just making the impact. And I mean, again, coming from a big program, and I think he's the first one that has come from a big program that's actually contributed. We've had plenty of transfers come over, and we're like, we were talking about the I'm blanking on his name, the wide receiver from Notre Dame who came in last year and didn't do anything. And then, we get these big name transfers like the I'm terrible with names tonight, but the kid from Clemson, and he's not even playing anymore. He's got like 1 catch on the season. We get some big names, but Mitchell Melton's one who actually came in and did the thing. He's done his work. That strip sack against Duke was huge, and I just love everything about it. And he's one of those guys that you can look into. He's like, hey, he bought into the program. He bought into what Tony Elliott is selling out here, and I think it's really bought in the program. So, and we're just, again, I think we're one player away.
Absolutely. And the other thing I do want to bring up is thank goodness we chose the right 2000s Patriots executive in Scott Pioli as opposed to Michael Lombardi, because not only did we hit on guys like Mitchell Melton, who transferred from one of those kind of helmet sticker institutions, but we hit on transfers on guys that we took flyers on from the FCS level. If you had to rank your top Virginia football players this year, Jamari Taylor's on there from NC Central in the MEAC. We got Daniel Rickert, who plays across from Mitchell Melton, who is just as much of a wrecking ball in the pass rush game. We got him from Tennessee Tech in the Big South OVC. So if you're a guy from that FCS level who is playing above that 1AA competition, Virginia has shown that they can take those guys and make them into quality Power 4 players just as much as we can take a guy from an Ohio State and really maximize what they do well. So I think there's a value proposition for both types of transfers, which I really like.
It's definitely one of those things where you see the transfers coming in, especially like Cam Ross from JMU, like even those group of five guys that want to get to the Power Four level. Yeah, shout out. I had to throw my JMU guy out there, but it's just one of those things where these guys are gonna want to transfer, and they'll take a little bit of money to go to a UVA and get away from the group of five or FCS for sure.
I think it goes without saying, kind of shifting gears a little bit, pivoting. Obviously, this game we got to win. What do you see are the keys to how we win this game this Saturday?
So I think the first one is going to be controlling time of possession. I think that's been a critical piece for this team throughout the year because you can't control time of possession if you're not taking care of the ball, you're not running the ball well, and you're not passing efficiently. If you're controlling the time of possession, odds are you're doing those three things. Second, don't let Kyron Jones get comfortable or whatever quarterback tech rolls out there. Mitchell Melton and Daniel Rickard, who we were just talking about, those guys I think should have a field day. And then third is play all 60 minutes. Whether you're up 10 midway through the fourth or whether you're down 3 or whether you're up 20. Keep the foot on the gas, keep rolling. Tony Elliott mentioned this against Duke, and thankfully the mentality of this team overcame what looked like a scary third and fourth quarter there for a minute. I know everyone was kind of sitting up in their chair for a second, but, have that mentality where we are not putting pause on this thing until all 3 zeros hit on the clock.
Yeah,
And
I feel like
I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and throw this out there. The players definitely have to be ready and play all 60. But I need my man, and I'm going to throw him under the bus. I need Des Kitchen just to play. Just call a great game. Don't get into this. I'm gonna call 15 great plays, and then you know what? I'm not gonna continue that anymore and go back to the old way. Like Des Kitchen, show out, make this offense look like they did against Florida State.
Yep.
I was gonna say it seems like we see a lot of success on the offensive side of the ball when Morris is getting those passes in the middle of the field. I just feel like it opens up the field for us so much, and I noticed that in Duke. I noticed it in Cal, Florida State. So hoping that he can open this field up and spread the ball around to these receivers.
Please throw the ball to Sage Ennis more.
Well, let me ask you: do you feel like? I mean, I think it's been talked about. I didn't realize how big a loss Twitty was. When he went down.
I mean, we really haven't been able to run much 12 personnel at all. 12 being one running back, 2 tight ends. And it's definitely been a loss for us, and I think it's been a loss for Ennis in the pass game because he has to be that 6 pass protector quite a lot of the time.
Yeah, where was this when who was our Harvard grad transfer last year? I felt like was Sage hurt last year for the most part of the year, or did we have Sage in? Who was he transferred from Harvard. He was a great tight end for us.
He was, yeah.
I can't remember his name.
He had good hands. But, yeah, man, well, I mean, that really is kind of all the questions that I have. I mean, you're more than welcome to ask us questions if you want, but go ahead.
I got one for him. So, Mills kind of opened the can of worms when it came to Des Kitchens. And I wanted to ask you, Duece, as someone who's played the game, none of us have played. I only play NCAA 26. That's about it. I'm coaching LSU currently.
There we go.
So, what can you tell is the reason why the offense has really ebbed and flowed the way it has? Because, I mean, we were really high, scoring 40-some-odd points a game, and then we really had to rely on the defense to get it done for part of the middle part, and then we saw the offense explode again against Duke. Is there something you are seeing that is really impacting the play calling, or is it play calling, execution, Des Kitchens, or is there just what are you seeing that can kind of contribute to that offense ebbing and flowing throughout the year?
Sure. I think the biggest thing that contributed to the Louisville to Washington State slump, that period of time, was, I think, the rest of college football, A, taking us a little bit more seriously, and B, having film on what this Virginia team is. It's kind of like Jaden Daniels his rookie year. no one had tape on Jaden Daniels. And he was a new guy. He was running things just like Chandler Morris is this year. Like, they didn't have film on us. And once film started to get out, they found ways to scheme against what we were doing. So I think that's why early on we encountered some offensive slumps. Then Chandler's shoulder being a little bit dinged up, I think that took away some things in the passing game, being able to attack deep. I think that contributed to part of it. And then I think, obviously, Chandler still being a little dinged up after the Wake game, I think we were limited in some of the things that we could do offensively. The other part is these offensive coordinators spend so much more time on the game than we would even hope to. And odds are, if an offensive coordinator or if an offense is struggling, it's more than likely the defense and the defensive coordinator doing a great job than the offensive coordinator being uniquely bad. Plus, there are very few play calls that are so bad that can't be overcome with good execution. And I think that we just need to not try and win the game on one play. I think that's something that we've seen from this offense. We've tried to win the game on a 2nd and 3rd or 2nd down and 3 yards in the second quarter. We can't win a game that way. You got to win it through continuous operation in the run, pass, RPO game. I did think we got away from passing the ball down the middle of the field. I think that was a big reason why we struggled in games like Washington State and UNC. And so the closer we can get to being able to use all 3/3 of the field and being able to attack vertically as well as just trust our run game, I will give Dez this. He has been very trusting of the offensive line in the run game. Like, that should be the biggest point of credit to him this year, that he, when it gets down to it, trusts Jamari Taylor and trusts the offensive line.
I think you see that when we run the ball on 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 4. And, some people don't like it. And I defended it a couple weeks ago where it did work early in the season. We were running the ball on 3rd and 5, surprising people, and then we're gaining 7 or 8 yards. I also think that had to do with we had 3-4 running backs in the rotation, and I think losing Noah Vaughn kind of hurt us. And then when you lose X as well, losing those two guys are very much that, you have to rely on your other 2 backs as much. Now we're seeing more of Jamari Taylor. I did like how we were very focused on giving Wei Lee a lot of touches last week. And like you said as well, we also threw the ball in the middle of the field, and we had not – I agree with you. We got away from that in that middle stretch. We weren't really getting a lot of anything over the middle anymore, and it kind of slogged us down, and then we would get behind the sticks, and then we just were all out of sorts. And I think the biggest one that people hated on Dez for was that 3rd down play against Wake when we threw it out. And as an offensive lineman guy, if you watch it back, he did miss the block. He allowed the guy to snake through. Somehow he got through the smallest opening, but he was able to bust that play up. So, again, it kind of comes down to execution on that as well. So not everything that Dez has done, or he's had a great year. There's just a few people that will still scratch their head and try to blame Dez for something.
Great execution can make an awful play call look amazing, and no play call, no matter how good it is, can work out if you execute it poorly.
And I think we've executed more times than not this year. So we definitely made it look good for him this year. I think we were all very impressed. So
absolutely.
Well, I guess the big thing is, do we want to talk about it? The disappointing, sad news that all of Virginia fans got today. Cam Robertson's season's done, ACL tear. There's some, as you probably saw it, a lot of people on X complaining about Elliott letting him come back in for that one play. They got the report; it was clean. I do feel bad for Cam. He was probably was going to be up for linebacker of the year. I presume he still could be, but going into his junior year, playing Tech as his last home Tech game, not being able to play, that's got to be very difficult. How does his presence on the field being taken away, how do you think that affects the team as that leadership?
It's always tough when you have a player like that go down so late in the year, because as a player, you couldn't scheme him out of a game. We saw plenty of people try and make Cam Robinson a pass coverage linebacker, and it like Cal, and look what happened. Game-winning pick six. When he was allowed to be involved in the run game, forces a game-winning safety. Like, that's a guy you can't just say if we put him in this position, he's going to be a bad player. And, you know, losing that, you can never truly replace that production from one jersey. Now, I think from a leadership standpoint, depending on the type of unit that you have, it can either be kind of a fall apart moment or a galvanizing moment. And if there's any coach that in America that I would trust with that, it's John Radzinski, who should win the Broyles Award this year for what he's done with our defense. And, you know, we are a worse team on the field without Cam Robinson. But I do trust this unit, and I do trust this team, who has played very well in spite of a lot of adversity, to carry on and, you know, almost make it like a rallying cry. Like, hey, man, let's do this thing for Cam. Like, I'm sure that's what's being said in the group chats in the locker room right now. Like, hey, Cam's going to get healthy for us for next year, hopefully, get him back. And at the same time, I think a lot of people criticize Tony Elliott for sending him back out there. We weren't in the training room. We weren't in those discussions. You know, an ace competitor like Cam was probably itching to get back on the field with a green light.
Well, having torn, go ahead.
It's those type of things are never on one specific person. You know, Cam wants to be out there. Cam wants to play. If he had already, like, that's a guy that you have to rein in rather than tell him to go. And so if he's going to have a chance to go out there, he's going to play until the wheels fall off. And, you know, unfortunately, that just ended up happening, and it was just an unfortunate situation. But, you know, I don't think Cam was like, no, I don't want to be out there on the field. And Tony said, yeah, you have to be.
Yeah. I was going to say, having gone through those types of injuries myself, you know, they are a little tricky if you don't know that it's actually torn. You can actually move around and everything like that. So,
yeah,
you know, that competitive spirit, and I think that's what's so fascinating about Cam is, I guess he's often compared as like an old school linebacker, like, you know, and he's just that dog that we need out there. And I think, you know, the one of the big things, like you said, you can't really replace that. But what we can do is try to keep the ball in the offensive hands as long as we can, so we don't have to even rely on them in that nature. So
we can try and recreate him in the aggregate Jason Giambi style.
Right, exactly.
I think it's good though. Landon Danley did lead the team in tackles last week as well in the replacement of Cam. And people who are complaining about Cam and Elliott playing him when he was hurt, he played one play. It's not like he played an entire half. He played 3 total snaps. He did.
Yeah.
There was nothing that Tony could have done, and they said they checked him. He came back clear, all the tests, and he probably was like, yeah, it hurts, but it's good enough for me to try. He made one play, and he's like, oh, nope, it's done. So props to him for laying it all out there. It's kind of like reminds you of Antonio Clary from last year. He was going to play until the wheels fell off, and then he was playing hurt, and then it completely went. And then he was gone. So now we got him back this year. I mean, kind of transitioning. He was with us when we won in 2019 at home. Elliott mentioned that in the press conference today, and talking about how he's the old head in the locker room that was there the last time we won against Tech. So I think that's a big move. But I think we are good with our depth with Danley coming in, and he got a lot more reps throughout the season, especially with Cam being hurt early on too. So I think he's grown. You played 9 of 10 games already, so you're right there. You know what to expect. So I think we're in good hands. Again, it's hard to replace Cam by one person. It's going to be by committee.
If you think Cam isn't going to be in every huddle surrounding every grease board on the defensive side of the ball or giving pointers and observations to the guys that step up, you haven't watched Cam Robinson this year. And, you know, I'm sure that the guys are going to be wanting to prove that they are good enough to get snaps next year in this absence, and at the same time wanting to win this thing for Cam. I think it's a galvanizing thing sometimes in those locker rooms. So I think the team is going to step up.
Yeah, I definitely could see him on the sideline with a headset and being in everybody's ear hole,
He's going to be
getting
the
them
biggest hype
right
man. He's going to be the biggest
for
hype man out there.
sure.
If anyone's
And
slacking, he's going to be the first one. Coach Red ain't going to have to say nothing to nobody. He's going to he'll be Chief Bulldog on the sideline.
so
I,
I do want to bring this up. I want to bring in, because y'all gonna be at the game, the fans. So in years past, it's been a Tech crowd. Are we seeing that this is going to be a flip year, and this is going to be a more positive Virginia crowd? Because in years past, the rumor is Tech buys our season tickets so they can have the ticket for this game, and they sell the
Mm-hmm.
rest. Um, me and Sean were at Florida State, and that was definitely a UVA crowd. And Sean was at the last game and said it was, the buzz is there. So, what do y'all think? Y'all three being there, Ben, you're going, and what do y'all think is that
I
crowd
mean,
going to be an atmosphere?
we got people coming up from Florida to see the game, so
True.
we got someone coming up from Florida, and we got someone an hour away who can't make the drive.
I cannot make the drive. I'm
So
not paying I'm not paying $197 for a ticket. You must have got his ticket
197, but
quick.
I'm sure Duece is paying a lot more in gas just to get here, and you're complaining. Duece, just pick him up on the way. Come on,
I
just
am,
call Tom.
goddamn it, Mills.
I don't know if you
I
haven't
will
met
give you a
Mills.
ride. I will give you a ride.
You haven't met Mills. He's like 5'5", 100 pounds soaking wet. You can take him. So just
Yeah,
stuff him in a
easily.
locker and bring him with you. But no, I'll talk on that. I think we've seen the student section fill up, and the student or the hill has been packed all year. This is not going to be a year where you're going to see Tech fans in the front row.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to get. I don't think we have enough views to get poster board material. But this is not going to be a year where Tech is going to be on the front lines of the hill. We're going to fill it up, and our fans are going to be there early. The fans have filled in the earliest I've ever seen in the last 9 years this year.
Mm-hmm.
They are balled in. It's going to be a 7:00 game. They are going to be there. They're going to be loud, and they're going to affect the game. And I think it's going to be great. It's not. You're still going to have Tech fans there, yeah. But when the tickets for the game go on sale later later on in the year, and they're 0-3 to start. Yeah, they didn't spend their money on this one.
Yeah.
I think it's
And
easier to root
Deuce,
for something than against. Oh, sorry, Mills. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I think it's always easier to root for something than to cheer against it. And for Tech right now, it's purely a spoiler proposition. And so, obviously, this is the type of game where your season is a little bit better if you win it, no matter how bad you played the rest of the year. But, Virginia fans are showing out in support of something crazy potentially happening that we haven't seen happen at this program in a long, long time. And, if we were able to get record turnout for a game against Florida State that everyone thought we were going to get creamed in and cause crowd delays for a non-con against Wazoo, then we're going to be able to get up for this one.
Yeah, and
I
that's what
agree.
I was saying, with Sean. Sean, what time are you getting up there to tailgate? What time are you getting up there?
we're still working out the details.
I'm in my head. I want to leave by 10, be there and set up by 11:30, so I can watch the 12:00 games kick off and enjoy my day. Still to be determined, but I plan on being there all day through the night.
Deuce, if you make your way to Fontaine, if that's where you end up parking, find Sean. He'll save you a burger if he's
There we
cooking
go.
that.
We're going bigger.
We have enough time to do whatever you want to cook.
Hey, we're watching all the games, man. We're watching
Yeah.
them all. So
It's actually probably got to plan two different meals. We're just gonna eat hamburgers the whole time. But
I've got
I
some
mean,
options on my snack.
But man,
Deuce, how familiar are you with this Tech team? I've tried to watch some Tech football. Generally I will watch a little bit and just channel off to another game. But how familiar are you with this team that we're about to face?
I think Mills mentioned it before, but this is a team with talent on the roster. I would say most of it is on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're solid up front, and they've got some playmakers on the back end. I think that the quarterback play for Tech this year has been lacking, and I think obviously good quarterback play is the straw that stirs the drink. for any team. And so, I think they've been very run heavy on offense, and they've been pretty decent at getting pressure on the quarterback, like we saw against Miami. But, this is big wide receivers have given us trouble throughout this year. I think that's no secret, whether it's Duece Robinson at Florida State or Chris Bell against Louisville. They don't have that big X receiver that they can just say, you know what, he's down there, I'm just going to throw this thing up. So I would say, if anything, we need to be very cognizant and watchful of how our tackles are performing on the edge in pass protection. I think that'll be the biggest weather vane to how this thing goes.
Yeah, I think when you look back at like even the Wazoo game, that quarterback moved a lot more than I thought he would be, and our tackling was just terrible in that game. And I think they've shaped up a lot. Drones might be the best running quarterback we've faced all year. There's been some guys, but we've seemed to do a pretty good job containing the run. These mobile quarterbacks or these dual threat guys.
You always got Pop Watson potential.
That's what I was going to ask. Last year we prepared for Drones, and Drones got hurt, and then they brought in Pop, and he destroyed us. Is there a chance that Virginia Tech is sitting there game planning and be, you know what? They didn't do well against Pop last year. Maybe we got some more magic left in them. Do you think they would pull the table out from or the chair out from Drones and say, hey, no, we're going to give it to Pop this time? Or is it they're going to just ride Drones through the year?
I think it'll either be them getting Pop the ball, or they might take notes from the situations that Wake used Ashford and, oh my goodness, the other quarterback.
We're not a name-heavy podcast at all.
They used both quarterbacks to decent effect. I mean, obviously they didn't have like a 30-point outing, but they won the game with it. So I think that Tech will probably take notes from that and use both Drones and Watson. But I think we were in such a way offensively against Wake that I don't think can be repeated even if we tried. That, I do think we'll see both. And I don't think it'll go as abysmally as it did against Wake Forest, because probably our special teams punt cover unit probably had to run 30 gassers on Sunday after that Wake game.
I think this defense, we really contained Menza really well last week. Mm-hmm. He also was a guy who could throw it a lot. He could throw it a lot better than Drones can. And they have a little more weapons than Virginia Tech does, like you said, on the outside. So I think this is a very feastable game for our defense. And, again, my favorite coach on this staff is Coach Rudd. I've said it all year. When the offense was struggling and the defense, the tackling, we gave up the points to NC State. I said if there's one coach I believe in that's going to turn this thing around, it's Coach Rudd. And he definitely has in a big way. So I think he's going to have these boys ready to go. They got 2 weeks to prepare. And I'll say it because it's not a jinx. Tony Elliott's undefeated coming off the bye week. And we got an extra week to prepare for this Virginia Tech team, which is very rare. So I really like how this is all shaping up, and I'm with Mills. I think we need to pull a Notre Dame and put 70 on the board, because if you really look at it, if we beat the brakes off of Virginia Tech better than what Miami did, you took big picture, that could serve us well going down the road, and it may give us a little bit of a chance to sneak into the playoff, even if we go into the ACC Championship game and may drop that one. So I think eye test.
That's a 0% there, Sean.
I don't know.
We have to win to get in.
I don't know. We'll have to see. But again, if we hang a big number on Tech, and then we play a tight game in ACC Championship, but I like our chance. Let's just win out. So I got one last question for Duece on my end, kind of rounding out Tech. Duece, did you see this season playing out the way it has?
I thought we would be a very competitive 7-5, 8-4, and I would be having a great time in Tampa at the Outback Bowl or the Poulon Weed Eaters Bowl in St. Petersburg. Like, that in my mind was success with a win. 8-4 with a win over Tech was my ceiling for this year, to be frank. But yeah, I did not see this season going as well as it has for UVA, as poorly as it has for Virginia Tech. Like, the way this thing is shaping up, I did not see coming. I don't know about y'all.
Well, I called a possible playoff berth at the beginning of the season, and everybody looked at me like I had 3 eyes. So
More
here
faith
we
than
are.
I had. Wow.
To me, when you looked at our schedule and everybody said, "Oh, this is the worst or the easiest schedule in Power 4," and then you look at the transfers we brought in, it just didn't align up with the projections that they were giving us. Oh, 14th in the ACC. How can we have the top 5 transfer class in the ACC, but it not translate to a top 5 or top even 8 team in the ACC? So to me, it doesn't surprise me. I liked who we brought in, and I'm a very much optimistic guy, and I'm not going to root against my team. And I definitely, I'm not going to be the guy who says, "Oh, we're going to go undefeated every year." But I really liked our chances, and again, it had the outside chance of making the college football playoff, and here we are, 2 wins away from making that happen.
Prophetic.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I to Sean's point, when what I thought about the season just coming in, there was just so many certain unknowns, and I don't know how if you're dialed into the NBA. I'm not really, but the big component about the NBA that I enjoy the most is the off season. Who's getting traded? Who's getting drafted? I find kind of interesting, and that's kind of how it was this year with this portal. Like we just didn't know. We didn't know who was coming up, who was next, or what to expect out of this team. So it's definitely been a ride, that's for sure.
Yeah, let's focus in on Saturday and beat the brakes off the Hokies. And I hope I don't have to hear that chant more than like 5 times this entire game. It's going to drive me nuts. Let's keep them off our field, and let's go have a party on our own field after this game. And well, let me rephrase. I don't want us to rush our own field after this win. We need to act like we've been there. Give a thumbs up, take a picture of the scoreboard, keep it moving.
They're Russian. These kids are Russian. If they beat Tech, the student section's Russian.
Can we rush the field any faster than we did against Virginia or Florida State? That's the real question.
Man, if we ever need some special teams gunners, Tony needs to
There's
take
some
a look
kids.
next year to check
There's
some of the
some
splits on some of those kids.
They were
It's
out
interesting
there.
though that you just said that. I mean, have you know? Is it just me, or has the special teams had a couple games recently? It just feels like something's weird. Something's, I don't know. It
Wake,
just they,
Wake was a WTF game, and I had spent the entire year telling everyone we had the best punt cover in the nation, and I had egg on my face after that.
And I saw those messages and I was like, of the 1 week that we have a bad return. I think it was a mix of everything. I think some of the punts looked off. Being in the stands, it looked off. It didn't look like he got them clean. And then when you saw the coverage, it was,
It
not
was a
good.
full moon that weekend, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
right.
I
Something.
definitely
And
remember
then
that.
if you get rid of the dirty hit and Chandler's in that game, I think we win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Danny played a great game. We moved the ball against them, and just unfortunately, a young guy just couldn't hold onto the ball. Didn't he? Maybe held onto it a little longer than he should, and coughed up some turnovers. But I liked what we saw with Danny. Just we needed to punch it in there. So
Well, Deuce, I appreciate all the
Hold
time
on
you
now,
put with
Ben.
us.
We gotta
Well,
get.
I just don't know. I don't want him to keep him up late. He may have to go to work
We
No,
tomorrow.
gotta
you're good.
get
I'm
at
off
least
tomorrow.
Deuce.
There
We
we
do
go.
the predictions. Do you like to do a prediction, or are you gonna do it for your later post? Are you later? Do you want to
I'm
give
good
one?
putting out my prediction. I'll stand on my square on it.
Okay.
So I am going to put this out into. I'm going to manifest this. 34-17. Who's carry the day?
Okay.
I think it's a tight game early, and then we just our stamina and our athleticism, and frankly, the fact that we're playing for something carries the day.
Hey Ben, are you giving us one? Are you gonna keep it like you did all year? Are you just gonna say I'm
So if you don't know, like I feel really weird about doing it. I feel like I jinx it or whatever.
also
But
you
I
use
also, but
high
I also
quality?
feel like when I really look back at things, the last time I saw UVA beat an ACC team in person was 2019. So every ACC game that I've gone to, we've lost. So like, but I'm going this week, so I need to just mix it up. I need to give us a score, and maybe that'll work. I'm not going to wear the old school jacket. I'm not wearing the starter jacket. That's staying at home. You know, maybe I'll shave my left eyebrow. We'll see. Um, let's see. You go ahead, Mills. Let me think about this. Let me ruminate a little bit about this score.
All right. Well, as everybody know, I am not a Will hater. I think Will's going to be a great kicker. Yeah, Sean, you give me that look. I do not trust my man over 45 or over 40. Let's be real. But if I remember correctly, the last time Virginia Tech came in with an interim football coach, they smoked cigars on our field. They won 55-17. Is that something in the ballpark? Is that
I think
correct?
so.
So, with my projection, I'm flipping the script. We are going to drop 55.
Woo!
They're going to get 20.
Break
And
out my
we're gonna
church fan.
And we're gonna light cigars, but not and just in the stadium, just not on the field. We're gonna be classy and smoke our cigars and drink our Chardonnay.
Go ahead, Sean.
I like where Mills was going, and I was going in that same direction. I'm not going to give you a whole speech about it. 37-10 Who's, and I think our defense shuts them down, and we make it happen. And I just, it's going to be a good time to be there. Let's keep them off our field, and let's put them away early, and then just run up the score for good fun, and then have a celebration in the parking lot after.
Of course, I want all y'all scores to be true. I think it's going to be a little bit of a slugfest. I think they want to ruin our season, so to speak. But hopefully our guys are thinking that this doesn't ruin our season. If they have that perspective and that mindset, I think that they're going to play more clear-headed. But I'm going to say 21-9. I think we're gonna win this game, and we're just going to have to shut down Tech. I mean, make them one-dimensional. That's really what it's going to boil down to. And if we can make them one-dimensional, I think we can keep them from scoring a lot of points. So that's kind of how I see it.
Hey,
Well, Duece,
they unless you play in the Big Ten or SEC, the wins don't count more if they're by 1 or by 50. So
I tell you what, though, Duece, your last one last segment, but your couple posts about the whole your sticker on your helmet matters, about the college football, and it showed tonight too. And I'm not a hater of it, but Michigan jumping up 4 or 5 spots, they're doing that just to get the views for that big noon kickoff, for that potential upset. And hypothetically, if Michigan does upset Ohio State, they're going to put Michigan in. It's just a thing because Michigan is going to bring money in. And, Texas still being ranked as a 3-loss SEC team. Your whole little concept about your sticker matters, or your golden helmet matters. It was very interesting take that you brought out there. UVA has that sticker on our side of our helmet means nothing to compare to the big dogs.
and I don't really get offended by it because the committee's been so honest about it. They've been so clear in their criteria. And here's the part that sucks for the committee. They're going to try. They would not give us an at-large bid, no matter how good this game goes. But there's no way they can keep us out if we don't just win.
Right.
There's no way they can keep us out if we just take care of business over the next 2 weeks. So, if we're as good as we hope we are and we think we are, the committee's going to have to deal with it. Those Longhorns or that Trojan on the helmet, those might not, they might just be SOL on this one.
And I will say this one last thing is I'm in a group chat with all my JMU buddies, and everybody was talking about the ACC might not get a team in if the 2 group of 5. Well, the committee made sure tonight they'll rank 5 ACC teams in front of Tulane just to make sure that we don't get 2 group of 5 teams in. So
Yeah,
it's interesting.
You going to Brazil next year?
Vahoos. But man, this is gonna sound crazy. This is the life of a coach's kid. So this will be my first Virginia game in Scott Stadium since 2009. So after 2009, when Cavman fell off his horse and everything kind of fell apart, my dad took a job with the Colts, then the Jags, and we just kind of moved around all over the country. I saw Virginia at close road spots a bunch, but this will be my first one since the Tech game in '09, and I can tell you I am going to be all kinds of emotional. I'm going to be in my bag when I hear like just the team run out and everything like that. I am so freaking excited. Side tangent, I almost played against Virginia at the Citadel during COVID. We were going to play at Scott Stadium, and then Governor Youngkin made a rule that college teams in the state of Virginia could not schedule out-of-state teams because of COVID. So the Citadel got VMI, and then we ended up actually going up to West Point and playing Army.
That's
another thing that COVID took away.
Man, I'm just thinking about the COVID football season. What a weird year that was.
Wasn't that the year they tried to open the season up with Tech? Didn't they try to do that?
They thought about it. They wanted to put it early in the season. So
yeah,
but I'm right there with you, Duece. Every time the Who's come running out the tunnel, man, it's a surreal feeling. I've been in my same seats for 9 years now, and just watching it. It's just something that, it's home for me, and I enjoy being there. It's just game day at Scott Stadium hits differently. So we're happy you're going to be there. So you're our good luck
y'all
charm.
send me some videos. Send me some videos.
Or you just show up.
You talk to my wife. If you convince my wife and you find me a cheaper ticket than StubHub, then I'll be there.
Just pay the money. You'll be fine. So, man.
Got tickets? That's right.
Hey, there's scalpers are coming back. I saw some a couple weeks ago.
I kind of like the idea of scalpers coming back. I don't know. Maybe it's just more nostalgic.
It's been a long time.
So. What are they going to do? Are they like airdropping tickets?
I think so. I haven't tested my luck with them, but so
Sean, if Sean gets the opportunity, like you can't even if there's seats down in the lower bowl, you can't even pull him down there. He stays up there and.
Well, no, that's not true for Florida State. Florida State, they
moved y'all down though.
They moved us down for Florida State, and they put us right down in the heart of the Florida State section. So nice. It was a great time. It was definitely fun.
Hey, I was there with you.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't get me started. I got railroaded. I had to stay home and watch the baby because
that's what's happened with me at Tech.
To me, this is my last hurrah. So this is the last thing I'm gonna be able to do till March or April, if that. So I'll be locked down for a while after this one. Trust me, I'm using up all my points for Saturday.
Well, I don't think we're going to talk about basketball tonight. Hey, Duece, I don't know if you're a UVA basketball fan, but you're always more than welcome to come on and talk UVA basketball whenever you want. So
would love to. I'm nowhere near. I definitely know where I'm at on the Dunning-Kruger for football and for basketball, but I will 100% fanboy because we're playing at light speed comparatively this year. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's before you know, oh shoot, we're on pace for 80 tonight. It's been interesting to see the halftime scores. We're like, okay, yeah, wow, that was last year's. That was like the whole game.
That was a full game.
So it's been definitely been a joy to watch. Not the other night, but yeah. So, but again, guys, we're almost at an hour. That's a long time.
Week. Go win. Get the W. Beat Tech. Is that how we're going to close it this week?
I think that's how we got
Beat Tech.
Yeah.
Go Hoos.
There we go. All right. Well, folks, thanks for sticking around again. Go check out the 434 Defense podcast on. You've used YouTube mostly, is that correct?
YouTube, TikTok, I go pretty much the whole route on there. So any of those platforms, I post there pretty much daily. So probably going to be recording an episode for the beginning of Hate Week for my own channel tonight, and so we'll have that rolling.
Well, we definitely got you warmed up for yours tonight. That's for
exactly,
sure.
Man.
But yeah, man, thanks so much for coming on, and hopefully we may run into you up there this Saturday, and maybe we'll even see you on the field. Who knows?
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, go Hoos, fellas.
Go Hoos, Beat Tech.